Hey everybody, Shane Presley here with Rock Paper Podcast. I have a couple of exciting things to tell you about. First off, June 22nd, Broadway Oyster Bar. I'll be hosting the 5th annual Rock Paper Podcast birthday show. And this year's party, I'll have Amanda Fish Band, Tony Campanella Band, and Odds Lane for your entertainment pleasure. Again, this is June 22nd, Broadway Oyster Bar. We'll be starting off about 10 o'clock. It's a $8 cover for the show. And along with all the great live music, of course, we'll have delicious food from Broadway Oyster Bar and cold drinks all night long. And live art from my friend Jessica Hitchcock. So it's going to be a great night. Can't wait to see you all there celebrating 5 years of Rock Paper Podcast. Pretty crazy to think about. Also, coming up real quick on May 14th at Naked Vine. It's my May edition of my singer-songwriter storytelling showcase. This month I'll be bringing along Billy Crogan and Tony Compton of Les Gruff and the Billy Goat, along with Karen Choi. So come on out. It's a 7 o'clock start for that show. $5 at the door. May 14th at Naked Vine. And if you haven't been out there, these are all a whole lot of fun. It's really a quiet, intimate singer-songwriter storytelling show. Of course, they all play acoustic and sitting on stools, and it's a nice listening room experience. So come on out to that one. And that's every second Tuesday of the month at Naked Vine. Let me tell you about my friends over there at Naked Vine. If you haven't been by, it's a cool little space they have going on out there, serving up all kinds of wine, whiskey, tequila, and local craft beers. You can catch some great live music there Thursday through Saturday. And this week on May 8th, you can see Jason Garms out there. That's Thursday, May 9th. Jason Garms will be out there. On Friday, Nick Detmer and the Sawdusters on May 10th. And John Bonham and Friends return on Saturday, May 11th. You can find all this information and more at nakedvine.net. Be sure to follow along with them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And get involved. Come on out. It's a really cool thing they got happening out there. And I also want to tell you about my friends at Joseph Meyer Club. You've been hearing me talk about them. They have a really great foaming aftershave that I've been using. I love it, and I think you will too. Give it a shot. You can try it today, right now, for 20% off using my promo code RPPJMC20 during checkout. Again, RPPJMC20 at checkout at josephmeyerclub.com. You can follow them on Facebook also for more information and get involved. I think you will really like this. It smells awesome. And the foaming is really nice too. It's not really messy like any liquid ones if you may have tried in the past. So if you're looking for some new aftershave to try, check out Joseph Meyer Club. Again, thanks to all my sponsors. Thanks to everybody listening. I really appreciate all the support over the last 5 years. It's been a wild ride. So thank you all for continuing to listen and tell friends. Again, you can find Rock Paper Podcast on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Get involved with the show and let me know what you think. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.
A podcast is kind of like it's like a radio show that's not on the radio. It's on the internet. Does that make sense? Uh-huh. Yeah. That's also like my mom. It makes it sound more confusing, doesn't it? It sounds like this.
Hey, everybody. This is Taylor Steele of Taylor Steele and the Love Preachers out of Effingham, Illinois. You're listening to Rock Paper Podcast here with Shane.
Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast, y'all.
Hey everybody, Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast, coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri. Hanging out today at Rhythm Music and Art and Performing Arts Studio with Taylor Steele. Welcome to the show.
Hi, nice to meet you, Shane.
And nice to meet you officially. This is, we've kind of been friendly online a minute.
Yeah.
And mutual friend Andy Brown kind of helped put this in motion. Made the connection and said that we should hang out. So we are. So thank you, Andy, for helping us.
Yes, thanks, Andy.
Yeah, and thanks to Doug and everybody that over here at Rhythm for making this possible and stuff. So this is a beautiful little space. I'm glad it worked out. This happens to be right down the street from
Domain Street,
where you're playing this evening with the band. So it worked out that we had some time this afternoon. We could hang out and talk about everything the band's up to, the new record and everything coming out. So thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here.
So I guess since this is our first time meeting and chatting, I kind of want to get to know more about Taylor Steele. And I guess you always... grew up in St. Louis area, Effingham, right? And
I live in Effingham now. And I actually grew up in Collinsville.
Okay.
And when I was little, the music kind of came into my life through, I had some grandparents that kind of helped raise me. And my grandpa played a lot of country western songs on guitar, and I would sing along with him and learn. He taught me to play guitar, and it's kind of a complicated family structure here though, but it was like my mom's boyfriend when I was little. He was a lead guitar player in bar bands all over like Belleville, Pontoon Beach, like that area. So I would get up and sing. I would go to the bars and get up and sing when I was really little.
What kind of stuff were you singing there?
I think one of the first songs was Do-Ah Diddy, like that kind of 60s, 60s rock, I guess. So a lot of that bar music was 60s and 70s classic rock and blues and all that. So, so that ended up really being a big influence on me growing up and ventured on my own, exploring new music. So
so your grandpa, you said, taught you to play guitar?
Yeah.
And what was how old were you there when you started picking up and playing?
I'd say I was about seven or 8. Yeah, he'd take me to bluegrass jam sessions and in Greenville when I lived in Collinsville, but he'd take me to Greenville, and I ended up living there and going to high school there, and I never knew that would happen, but then I ended up reconnecting with all those people that he took me to that jam session when I moved there, and that kind of helped me find a lot of musical friends when I lived in Greenville too.
Right.
So it's kind of funny how things work out like
For sure.
that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's
especially just everybody, the triangle of everybody knowing each other.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's funny how many times I've said stuff on this show, like going to some show, a concert, and then like, oh yeah, we were there, or we were the opening band, or what, that kind of stuff, and I'm like, it's just kind of weird, and then it's like how we didn't know each other then, but then 3-4 years later or whatever, we're sitting here having a conversation talking about that night, and we're friends, and that kind of, it's just like, it's just make you realize how small this world really is, like how you guys could all have been in that same room and didn't know it, and now
and I think music is a big part of that too, like whether you're a musician or someone who attends live music or whatever, however, like podcast, however you fit into the thing, it's like you kind of go where the music is, and we all end up hanging out with each other.
Definitely. Yep.
That's really fun.
Yeah. So is it always guitar, or did you try some other things too along the way?
Hit and miss. Kind of growing up, I stuck with guitar. Going way back, I took piano lessons and couldn't play any piano now, but played mandolin for a little bit when I was really little before I played guitar, but that's about it. It's kind of stopped with the guitar, and then the songwriting started, and that's kind of the direction I went into.
Yeah. So what's when do you decide what do you want to start writing your own stuff?
I was pretty young, I guess. I feel like I was exposed to a lot of music, whether it be the old country or the bar band stuff, and something about me, I just like songwriting ended up being a way, even when I was younger, to just express my feelings and everything. So that started just alone, not caring if anybody else heard me or whether I showed anybody else or not. I felt like I was kind of like an only child growing up too. Like I I'm not an only child, but just I have a couple half brothers that are much older than me, so they were out of the house,
Sure.
and I didn't. So I ended up finding creative ways to entertain myself, and and music and songwriting was one of them. So
Do you remember the first song you wrote?
Jeremiah was one of them,
Oh, yeah?
but definitely not the first song. I have some recordings like on my iPhone
Sure.
too, just of old stuff. They were kind of almost emo, like
Oh, yeah?
not full fledged like punk rock or anything, but kind of dark for a kid, I guess. I don't know.
Have you been seeing those videos popping up on Facebook now that guy like felt emo might and stuff, like, and he's like singing all these songs that like I grew up in high school listening to and stuff. I know he just did one with Until the Day I Die from Story of the Year. That was really funny. I don't know if have you seen any of those at all?
No, I haven't.
I'll show you afterwards. They're pretty good, especially for anybody that kind of grew up listening to that emo rock stuff that was real popular at the time. I can imagine like it's still pretty crazy to think that Jeremiah was one of your earlier ones, and now it's
it was before I moved to Greenville, and because I started as a freshman in Greenville in high school, so I know it was at least before high school. But
let's talk about this one. We just played it live here. We did a little live jam session before we pressed record, and it sounded great, and
Thank you.
obviously appears as track 1 on the brand new album. So opening up the record, and but you brought along this really beautiful resonator guitar that you're playing too. Everybody will see on the video we share and stuff. But let's anything you want to share around Jeremiah?
Yeah. First, I have to get straight that the resonator isn't my guitar, and I wish it was. But our guitar player Jim, it's his, and he's let me use it. And I played it on the album too, so it's a good match with the video and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jeremiah, that came out of I was like in junior high, I guess, but I was already listening to. I liked Crosby, Stills, Nash a lot, and that kind of folk rock feel, and I started getting into Gillian Welch, and she has the kind of Appalachian sound, and realized that I can get my voice to crack in that same kind of way. Like I used to yodel when I was a kid, when I'd sing songs with my grandpa, and my voice is kind of in the same register as her, so I love her music and love singing along with her. And I think Jeremiah, the story behind it, or the story itself in the song, I was kind of surprised that I came up with that, really. But it's kind of to me, it made me think of Appalachian, like it's about death, of course.
Sure.
So that kind of dark, like mysterious or mystical idea of like, where do you go after you die? Like just this vision of like your body being taken to a river and sent off by these like I have felt the beauty of 1,000 silhouettes, and it's kind of crazy stuff, but ended up being one of my favorite songs, and it was definitely an influence out of Gillian Welch.
Yeah, definitely.
And he led me to the
you thinking about just you describing all that stuff kind of started me, my brain just kind of goes to start painting the picture and thinking of the music video for this song and that kind of stuff.
I haven't done a music video yet.
But you obviously, everything you describe paints a lot of imagery that would make a really cool video.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that song is one of the especially on this album, that paints the most imagery. I think, and that's what I like about that song, and I think it's is one of my strengths of my songwriting. I'm fairly, I don't know if it's hard to be objective or that I am objective about it. With it being your song, it's almost impossible for you to know how someone else interprets it or how someone else hears it. So, but I think "Searching" is the title track of our album, and I think that one's pretty great with imagery too.
Yeah. We were talking a lot about this record. Let's tell everybody about this big release party you have coming up. That'll be so we're gonna have you said it's like 3 bands and like a cookout and stuff. It's us. We're the headliner, of course, the CD release party for us, and we're gonna play for about an hour and just play straight through the record and try and recreate the album. And then we have a couple friends that I've met, a couple other women too, and that's one thing I kind of noticed about this. Like, I have some women musician friends that I really admire what they do, and as they seem to admire me too. So getting that night together of women, great entertainment from powerful, like talented women. Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's something I think, like with the theme of my album and my songs being kind of a story of being a young woman and figuring things out, like who I am in life and all that. It's cool that they have similar songs, or so we're doing that. And so it's Fiona Kimble first. It's at Tuscan Hills Winery in Effingham on June 9th, and the doors are going to open at 3. And Fiona Kimble from Champaign, Illinois. No, sorry. Dani Flowers, I think from the Effingham area. She's starting us off first. So it's going to be Dani first. And then Fiona Kimble from Champaign is going to be our second act. And they're both playing solo.
Oh, okay.
Leading up to us ending the night with just running straight through the album.
Very nice.
And, of course, releasing the CD for everyone to buy for the first time. So
yeah. And again, that's June 9th. At Tuscan Hills Winery. Do we have, is there going to be tickets or just cash?
Oh, yeah. There's a $5 cover.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll have some new merchandise and everything.
Nice.
And Post Music Works out of Effingham is a new not-for-profit, and they're a part of, well, they are, like Moccasion Creek Festival comes out of Post Music Works, as well as Summer Sundown Festival, and we're all a part of that, the whole band and everything. And so Post Music Works is actually taking tickets at the door and donating food, burgers and hot dogs, and we're going to have a cookout too. So that'll be fun. Sounds
like a great day for sure. So yeah, come on out and celebrate this record. And that's going to be cool. We'll get some food, get some good tunes. It's going to be, and some winery.
Local music.
Yeah.
Support local music.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you mentioned "Searching." That's the name of the record, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that so keep an eye out for that. But we also it's one of the we want to play the title track for you right now, and you said this one kind of you felt also there's a lot of imagery in this song.
Yeah. The song, when I wrote it, it was some of these songs are written through trying to figure things out, like through relationships when I was younger, and this is still while I'm in high school. I started writing these songs. I guess some of these songs are from being like 13 through 21, right. So kind of seeing my path laid out there. But "Searching" was written, I was like a junior in high school, and it was after a boyfriend had broken up with me, and I was just kind of super reflective, I guess, and introspective, and felt kind of lost, I guess. But the song came out as me looking for towards the future and just kind of questioning, like, I don't know, like, can I be happy? Like, what does life mean? Like, I just want to be calm on a hillside and take things in, is kind of where that came from.
All right. Nice.
Breathe into me the fresh air. White rain clouds and hand of sunshine. Listen to me, babe. Storms keep creeping up to haunt me. Oh, what meaning will I find? Lonely lost sense of direction. Will I travel my whole life blind? We sleep
You mentioned, you know, obviously you play a lot with the band too. Your band, The Love Preachers,
Yeah.
and let's kind of get into some of these. Talk about some of these guys. How the band came to be and everything.
Yeah, I wish they could have made it today.
Yeah.
All of our timing and our schedules getting over here was weird, but yeah. So I met all of them at Village Wine and Gifts in Effingham, and this was about 3 years ago or so. And it was at the open mic at Village Wine that Bill Poss runs, who's the leader of Poss Music Works. And so I met all of them. I met Garrett. I kind of remember the first time I met each of them, but Kyle, our drummer, wasn't at that open mic, but he was the house drummer for an open mic that was on the same night, on the Wednesday night, like 2 blocks away. And we'd do the acoustic songwriter open mic, and we'd head down to the office and get electric and a little crazier. So he was the first time I played solo at the time. Like had only just played with myself. So having just going to the open mic and playing with a full band or whatever, and him being the drummer, like it was really cool getting to hear that for the first time.
Yeah.
And then Jim, I met him at the open mic as well, and there's just a strong music family in Effingham. I think through the festivals and all the kind of like the acts that Poss Music Works able to bring through, like Chicago Farmer, and kind of like webbing out from the festivals too. And we're all volunteers and pitch in and have cookouts and all kinds of different forms of live music. So I met Jim I met them all through that.
Very nice.
And we formed the band and started playing together. And at first, I remember the first practice we had, we're like coming up with all these cover songs to play. And we finally realized, like, no, we don't want to do that. We want to play my songs. And they all were awesome at like adding little stuff. And we kept building my songs up more, and played like 4 festivals last year. So we're definitely a live band. And this is our first time recording too. So
yeah. Well, I mean, obviously everybody heard Searching, but I mean, the whole record really sounds great. And there's definitely kind of some stuff like we kind of talked a little bit off mic, but it's kind of the beginning, kind of a little more, I felt, you can kind of hear those little bit more live, kind of like jammy kind of parts in some of the songs where I can imagine like the band can kind of stretch out and take some liberties with some of these songs.
And that's what it's like when we play them live too. We want to have the album being a structure, but for the most part it is a live studio album. So that's cool.
But the second half of the record kind of gets more, I don't know, it was like even some gospel kind of feels to some of the stuff. There's some bluesy, some R&B kind of, like there's a lot of different feels throughout the whole record. And I mean, ultimately all of it sounds really great. And like I said, I was very impressed, especially like you're saying, this is your first time in a studio and things. So everything came out real nice. I'm really, really happy for you guys. I think, like I said, I'm excited for people to hear the rest of this.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, let's. Where did you end up recording that?
Yeah, we went down to Nashville.
Okay.
Our guitar player Jim has a friend that produces down there, so we kind of had that connection, and it was super awesome meeting her and meeting our engineer. So we were at County Q Productions in Nashville, and that was an insane experience for me. I've never been in an official studio, I guess, before, and this really kind of blew me away. I wasn't sure what to expect going in, and I was nervous.
Yeah.
And for a few months, we'd just really been practicing hard and like woodshedding and trying to embellish all my songs. And one of our main things with the music too is not to overplay, to let each person kind of does what they need to I guess embellish or add accents to what I'm doing. So, and that's super cool too. With it being my first album too, it's definitely a band. Like it's all of our music now, but there's still my songs and so much feeling that I've put into these songs. to be able to let that show and let my finger picking and style on guitar show out too. So I think the engineer and everybody that helped us down there at County Q really did a great job.
Yeah. And there was I forget the track, but there was I thought it was kind of just a nice touch as like I said, as it's playing out, there's kind of like a static as like a vinyl record spinning.
Yeah.
I just thought that was kind of a cool touch to it. Because a lot of this kind of just has that feel to it, like it just a warm feeling, like listening to the record and just like some of those older records and stuff. So
yeah, and that's, I mean, most of the music I've listened to, I'm an avid, I collect records and have since I was in junior high. So I have 500 records or so. But just my favorite thing to do has always been just listening to old records. And I've always loved the Woodstock era and Aretha Franklin and Van Morrison and all this soul and funk and R&B.
Sure.
And then Crosby, Stills and Nash, that folk rock and that more folk country style too.
Right.
So it's cool hearing you say that, and kind of solidifies for me that there's a lot of different influences going on in there.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of obviously, there's a lot going on in this record, a lot of different things, and that's kind of what's fun to kind of pick out some of those things, just listening to it and kind of not completely figuring you out, but kind of getting to know a little bit about you through some of your taste and, kind of hearing some of those influences coming through and stuff. And
and that's what I'm hoping.
Sure.
Hoping that people can really relate or interpret this in a cool way.
Right. Definitely. Let's give them another one. We did Lost Girl Blues live also. Mm-hmm. And again, this is just you solo acoustic hanging out here. And another one of my favorites from the record that stood out to me, especially I liked, and you do it live also, was kind of just the first lines. You just kind of, it's almost a cappella and stuff, and and then the guitar kicks in. So I really liked that too, just kind of how a song kind of build, a little bit like that.
Yeah, we were hoping at least on some of these too. And all these songs before the band too, I just played them on my own. Mm-hmm. So part of that is them learning the song, kind of figuring out where they want to come in on it. But at the same time, I really wanted to do some building up in the song and emphasize the parts or the lyrics of the song that mean the most to me, mm-hmm. and let it really build up at those certain times.
Sure. Was there anything you need to share around Lost Girl Blues for anybody?
Lost Girl Blues. I think there's a lot of vulnerability in that song for sure. And about 2 weeks before we went to the studio, that was one of the songs that we hadn't really gotten to with adding all the stuff, all the accents to it, and really figuring out exactly what we wanted for it. And that was one that came together when we were down there in the studio. And I'm just happy that it was a very creative, relaxed space for us to be able to do that. So it was cool seeing this song come to life while we were down there. But Jim, our guitar player, had suggested to me, he noticed the vulnerability in the lyrics, and it is a very personal song. So he suggested, and on the album, it starts out, when I played it live here, I played the guitar, and it's kind of slow start and mm-hmm. kind of a soulful singing at the beginning. I'm not full on jazz, but a little bit jazzier than the rest of it. And that Jim had suggested that to kind of bring out that vulnerability in the song to start.
Nice.
And then on the album, we have a pianist that we hired to play with us, and she really added a lot throughout the whole album. But that was one thing we didn't know what we'd do with it until we got there. And
Sure.
Then I sang the intro, and she had all the that church organ kind of stuff coming in.
I mentioned kind of a gospel, some of the stuff, and that's kind of where some of that church organ or mm-hmm. I don't know, others different. Definitely there's a couple of different key parts like you're talking about, and and that just kind of had that feel to it a little bit more. That kind of gospel church kind of vibe to it.
Right.
So yeah, that was definitely a nice touch to add some keys to that.
Yeah, and just with the story behind the song too. I was, at the time that I wrote it, I was really kind of trying to figure out my own head. Like I'd kind of felt lost at the time. And this song, I think for me, is to other young women to kind of share my experience and, however someone wants to interpret it, but just having that, something that could be encouraging or just make them feel maybe like they're not alone or something.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, everybody needs that sometimes. Like, and that's some of my favorite stuff about music, and especially songwriting. That it's like when they can kind of tell a story that like I connect to, that it's like makes you realize that you're not alone. You're not the only person that's went through this thing, and whatever it might be. And so
and
I was a girl. Find my way out of the snow. I was a girl. I had a storm over my head, and I couldn't seem to ever let my feelings show. Well, I was a girl.
making a whole album with all these songs that are like the story of all my personal like deep feelings throughout my life. It's kind of it's a wonderful thing to me at the same time too, like being able to perform these songs and share it with everybody. Like I want to share all of it and all those experiences and in a way like recording this record. And now that it's done, it's kind of like I can close a chapter in songwriting and in my life and kind of move forward on writing new stuff. And
Nice. Yeah.
anything could happen now.
For sure. We'll get a lot of opportunities to share some of these stories and songs with everybody. We got a whole calendar's filling up really quickly. You'll have, let's see, we got June 6th. You are opening for Amanda and Platt and the Honeycutters. And where's that one at?
That's in Marshall, Illinois. So that's a little northeast of Effingham, kind of closer to Terre Haute or closer to Indiana. And Marshall's a small town. There's usually not, or hasn't been, a lot of music going on there. But that's one thing Poss Music Works, I think, is trying to do in Effingham is kind of get some music or good shows. Like Amanda and Platt, they played at Moccasin Creek Festival last year.
Okay.
So people may know her from playing there, but then also being able to get them again passing through and them playing in a small town,
Yeah.
and we get to open up for them. And I'm so excited because I really love her band. Like, I hadn't heard of her before Moccasin Creek last year, and she's the one artist for the whole festival that really blew me away.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the show's going to be at an old opera house, Harlan Hall in Marshall.
Very cool. That sounds not fun. And that's another, like, just saying that too, kind of like, I just love that about going to either if it's a festival or even seeing an opening band at another show and then, like, that moment discovering like your next favorite band. Like that's like one of the coolest things. Like
I've always done that. I've gone to a lot of shows growing up in St. Louis and discovered that a lot of the opening bands that I saw I liked like just as much as the band I was going to see.
Definitely. And then again, June 9th is the album release party.
Yeah.
Tuscan Hills Winery. Right after that, June 14th, you guys are heading over to Beesonstock with like 15th year of Beesonstock, I think.
Yeah. So they're kind of, there's a culmination of the bands that have played there over the past, is it 12 years or 15?
I think I read
I think it is 15. Yeah. So I've been there the past couple of years or so. So it's cool. I know a lot of people from, there's some St. Louis acts that have played, like Leah Osborne.
Oh yeah.
She's played there, and Cluster Pluck and a lot of cool bands. But yeah, that's a cool thing. It's out in the woods, like it's just out in the country. It's a really good time.
Yeah. June 21st, you will be at Moccasin Creek Festival. Right? Yeah. Another big festival.
Yeah, and I've played that festival this will be my 4th year playing.
Very cool.
First 2 years I played solo, and then I played with a band last year, and then now we have our album to promote this year. So that's like home base. That's like family being at that festival.
And you tell me about another fun event coming up August 15th. You're doing like a Woodstock tribute kind of night.
Yeah, I'm still like overjoyed that this show is happening. We got some friends in Mount Vernon, Illinois, down 57, and they are part of a committee with Cedar Hurst Museum, and they put on a lot of educational shows and different projects. And they have a nice little theater going on there. And our friend Brian, he called me and talked to me about this idea for doing this Woodstock tribute show. My first thought was like, is he doing a festival? Like, so it's just going to be the Love Preachers. All the details aren't laid out yet, but from what I know, we are just recreating a lot of the music from Woodstock and the performances and try to bring that peace and love back to the idea of Woodstock. And I've loved Woodstock and been kind of obsessed with all that music growing up. And I've always thought, like, even growing up, I was like, I'm going to go to the 50th anniversary of Woodstock. And knowing that isn't going to happen, like, having the show, like, it's way better. Just let's do our own show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds cool. And then it'd be fun to maybe hear you hearing doing, some covers or whatever, and to hearing your own versions of some of these songs and stuff. And
yeah, that's the other end of it that I really enjoy. I really enjoy interpreting other people's music and performing, especially that like funk and blues and folk rock stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, you can find all this information and more on Taylor Steele and the Love Preachers on Facebook and Instagram, and TaylorSteeleMusician.com. Do we have is there any kind of pre-orders or anything going yet for the record, or everything's at the party?
Yeah, everything's at the party.
Yeah,
right?
so you got to come.
I don't know if we're doing it old school or what, but we decided not to do, or at least haven't come up with doing a pre-sale yet.
Sure.
I think we're just going to unveil it at the show, try to get people out to the show. And we do plan on at least uploading a couple songs, maybe to Spotify, and release a couple songs out so people can hear it before June 9th.
What's what's the next move? I mean, we got this obviously this record's coming out, and it's gonna be a big summer. Is Love Preachers looking to tour a little more or do some other stuff like that? Or
that would be a lot of fun. I don't think we'll be able to tour until at least next year. But right now, like, I'm just still kind of figuring everything out as I go. And it's a wonderful thing to have this album now. And I think it's really helped me to kind of realize what my path has kind of been shown in front of me now. I'm like, okay, I know what I got to do. Before I was pretty hesitant because I felt like I needed more assistance, like guidance, wasn't sure how to go about doing things. But I have a lot more help now. And I'm trying to, right now I'm just working on, we got a new logo and we're getting merchandise and connecting with, contacting radio stations, getting on the radio, and hopefully playing a lot more outside of Effingham is our goal.
Sure. Well, I think once people start hearing this record, I think you'll be playing a whole lot more outside of Effingham. I think people are going to really catch on quick with this. I think it's a great sound and a little bit something for everybody on there too. That's what I love about a good record is,
that's good to hear.
Yeah. So you're going to just keep, if he doesn't like the first one, go to the next one. There's going to be something completely different too. So that's what I think is really a lot of fun about. But and it's not like you need to listen to it from beginning to end. But I feel like that's a good way too. I mean, obviously, I think a good record. You want, just like you're talking about vinyl. Like there's no skip buttons on that. You press, you drop the needle and you let it go. And I feel like that's a good thing with this album is like. It's a good listen from front to back. And
that meant a lot to me when I was laying the songs out. And I was thinking about almost like a set list when you put together a set list, like the flow of the set, how you want the audience to receive what you're doing, the energy level and all that. And with this one, I just kept coming back to, I'd rather it just be in order of when I wrote them. And it turned out to really tell more of a story than I realized until I really got retrospective about them.
Well, let's close this out with one more little sneak peek of what you've been up to on the record, and this is another one that kind of one of my favorites from that the song called "Was I Wrong?" And you got anything else you want to add around "Was I Wrong"?
I wrote that song like right before I moved to Effingham, so that song has a lot of letting go for me and kind of moving on in a different direction that I never really thought would happen. I was kind of like, I don't know, I moved to a town without really having a job and left a relationship too when I moved. So it was a very weird time for me. So this song is what came out of that.
Yeah.
Hand me someone, tell
Very nice. Well, Taylor, I appreciate you doing this. This has been a ton of fun getting to chat and talk about this record, getting to know a little more about you and the band. I'm excited to go hang out with you tonight at Domain.
Good. I'm glad you're coming.
Yeah. So this will be my first time getting to see you and the band live. So it's going to be a fun night for sure. Again, big thanks to Rhythm Music here for letting us hang out here in Newtown in St. Charles, Missouri. So come visit them. So we'll see you all June 9th.
Yeah, June 9th, CD release party.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Taylor.
Thank you. It was great meeting you, Shane.
Nice to meet you. Bye, everyone.
Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Well, yeah, that was it.